Hey everybody, it's Haley. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a haul video, a collective haul that I have been putting together over the last few months. And before I jump in, there was just something I wanted to mention because this is a pretty big haul. I think when I did a tentative count, there's over 40 books that I'm going to share with you guys today. And I know that's a lot of books, but there was a few things that happened that kind of contributed to why there's so many. I had some gift cards, actually some from like Christmas time, Amazon Prime Day, my birthday, and then Powell's bookstore in Portland, Oregon. I did like a little trip with my mom. They did this big sale, warehouse sale with some of their used books where they sold them for very, very discounted, like $1 to $2 rates. So while there is a lot of books here and I'm very excited to share them with you, I also just wanted to take a second and just kind of say, no, I did not pay full price for all of these books. And this is not a typical couple of months of books for me. I tend to be somebody personally who I will buy books if I find a really good deal. If it's a book that I'm going to read very soon, but I don't like to just buy a ton of books and just have them sit on my shelves for months and months and months at a time. And so while there's nothing wrong with that, if you're somebody who loves to collect books for the sake of collecting books, that is fine. I just don't want to give the impression that I buy over 40 books every 2-3 months, and yeah, because I know that's not like very sustainable and it's just not a great thing for me personally. This was definitely an exceptional couple of months of book buying. And so I definitely thought it was worth a video, worth sharing. But again, I just also don't want to make it seem like everybody should go buy tons of books all the time and spend all of their money on it. You are more than welcome to do that for yourself. But again, I know that in the book community, you often see these large hauls, and I just want to set like a realistic kind of expectation where things like this happen, but just not all the time. So without dallying on that too much, let's dive right in. And I think we're going to start first with packages. I have a lot of books that are in packages, and then I am facing a table full of books that are just sitting out. So we'll start with packages, and then we'll dive into some of the other books that I have purchased. So let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, I have 3 of these little bubble mailers from Amazon on the top. Now, I did open some of these to pull stuff out that was not book related, and then some of these are just books. So everything in here should pertain to the haul. There was a few things I ordered when I purchased these books that didn't fit. So if it's open, it's just because I took extra stuff out. So first things first, you will see the rest of these throughout the video, but I want to read the Legacy of God series soon. If you watched my June reading wrap up, you will know that I have been reading the entire Rena Kent universe to get to these books. So it's been very fun. I've enjoyed it so much, but we're right about at the point where I can read these ones finally, and I'm so excited. So I did purchase all of the Legacy of God's books in different places. So this was an Amazon purchase, and you'll see the rest just kind of as we go. So God of Wrath is the first one that I pulled out, but I think this is book 3 in the series, something like that. So that was in there. I'm gonna just make a garbage pile down below, so we'll just toss it. Next up, I have another one that I haven't opened yet. Sorry if that sounds really loud. I don't know how loud it's gonna be on camera, but hopefully not too loud. Ooh, book 1, God of Malice. So this is book 1 in Legacy of Gods, and again, I think that's book 3. Does it say on there? No, it doesn't. These covers though, I love these covers. If you've seen, I know Rena Kent just posted, I think Bloom, is it Bloom that took over her books? They're gonna reprint them. I love the original covers, her covers so much. They're kind of doing the same thing, but they're more like simplistic, like keeping to more of a solid, just single color theme. I love these ones, so I'm glad that I bought them before the print stopped. Oh yeah, it does say on the edge, book 1, book 3. I was gonna say, it should say somewhere, right? It does. All right, next up we have not a book from Legacy of Gods, The Ever Queen. I just read on my Kindle, and I'm probably gonna buy the physical copy because I loved it so much, The Ever King, which this is what is the name of the series? I don't remember, but this is by L.J. Andrews. It is a pirate romantasy series, and it is so good. I am so excited to read this one. I ordered it like the second I was done with The Ever King. It was so good. I got The Ever King on a Stuff Your Kindle Day for free, and because I've heard so many things about it, I was like, you know what, it's free. Let's get it on the Kindle, let's read it. It is so good. It is worth a physical copy. Like, it's good. It's great. I loved it. Okay, now we're into some boxes. So I'm gonna open these. Maybe I'll pause and open it so the tape isn't super loud. Let me do that real quick. Okay, opened it. And this one has a couple of books in it. I think 2 books. Yeah, trash. These two, they actually look so cute together. Very different styles though. This is Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the next book in the Chestnut Spring series that I need to read. I have already read Flawless, Heartless, Powerless. Yeah, those ones. And so I've read the first 3. I need to read this one, and then the last book, which is Hopeless. So this is just next up. Oh, a little sad. You ever have this when you buy things on Amazon where like it comes a little meh? That's always a bummer. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, the front is beautiful, so that's really all that matters. But this is one with, I think it's Theo is the main character. I think you get a glimpse of him in Powerless, I'm pretty sure. And then Winter, who is Summer's, they're half sisters, right? Pretty sure it's her half sister. So it's their book. I've heard, because I was kind of disappointed with Powerless. I loved Flawless and I loved Heartless. I've heard that this book is a lot of people's favorites. A lot of people love Heartless as number 1, which I have already read that and I did enjoy that, but this one. I think this one might be my favorite when I'm done. I don't know. We'll see. Next up, I have Brutal Obsession, which is a book by S. Mastery, and this is in the Hockey Gods series. Now, I've already read, this is Brutal Obsession. All of the books in this series have something obsession in the title. So Devious Obsession, which is book 2, has like a purple cover. That one I already read, and these are all interconnected standalones. They're like a dark hockey romance, like a college age one, and I love them all as a series of interconnected standalones to read. But for some reason I started with book 2. I really couldn't tell you why, other than when I read the like synopsis of all these books, it just sounded like the one I would like the most, and for whatever reason I had no self-control, so I bought that one first and I loved it. Like, these ones are definitely a dark romance, like they're true to that genre, but they are really interesting to me. I really like what these books have done. I feel like there's a lot of authors who are doing that kind of like dark hockey romance, a lot of people in that hockey or sports romance fan base, but these ones, I really like the premise of them. So this is book 1 and I'm really excited to read it. This couple pops up just a couple of times in book 2, but it really gives away not a whole lot. So I'm excited to go back and read book 1 and then keep going in chronological order after this. So there's that. Next up, let's keep going with Amazon because I have a couple of other packages and I want to save those. So let's do Amazon, keep on that train. Oh, okay. So this box does not have books in it, but they are bookish items and they are things I received for my birthday. So I got this from my sister-in-law. It's a very cool reading light. So I don't want to blast you, but it moves, it's adjustable, and it has 2 brightness modes, clips onto your book, and it is rechargeable. It's like a USB, so you just stick it in like a little block charger, like an Apple charger or your computer, and then there you go. Super cool. And then I got two sets of these in here. There's two, there's one and then a second set in here of magnetic bookmarks, which are super cool, very helpful. I like magnetic bookmarks. I know they're not quite as like, they don't have all the designs that a regular bookmark does, but what I really like about these is they will not slip and fall out of your book, which I think is really nice. I am one of those people where if I take a bookmark out, because I can't really stand having like a paper bookmark in my book while I'm reading, that like ridge that it creates bothers me. So a lot of the times I set it down and it slides around the couch or bed or chair or wherever I'm reading. And these, you can just like stick it in the book on a later page or something, or on an earlier page, and you don't even know that it's there and it doesn't slip around. So I really like these. I'm using one right now. If you can see the first slot on the first one's not there. I've already started using them and I really like them. And those were both from Amazon. And then the last thing is something that I bought myself on Prime Day, and it's definitely worth talking about. I got a Kindle page turner. So basically you put it on your Kindle. You can either put it on the left side or the right side, top or bottom, and then you click the little remote. Comes with a little wristband. You click the remote and it turns the page for you. So handy, so cool. I absolutely love it. And so I had seen these, and on Prime Day it was like 65-70% off. So I picked up this one, and I even got it in a pink color, which is really cool. It comes with a charging cord, which is really nice, and a little bag so you can keep all the stuff together when you're not using it. So it's absolutely worth it for me to purchase that. I think it is very helpful. So those are just some little book accessories that I got for my birthday. Let's look at this box. This one, sometimes I'm so proud of Amazon, and then other times I'm like, why did you give me a box this big for this one item? They packed the books in this little guy, so thankful for that. These are very cute colors of these books too. So this is the 7-Year Slip by Ashley, is it Poston? I've heard people say Poston and Poston. The way it's spelled could go either way, so I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say Poston, so I guess I'll go with that, Ashley Poston, but it's the 7-Year Slip. I'm very excited to read this. I have heard so many good things about this book. It sounds so good. Basically, there is this girl, Clementine, and her aunt dies, leaving her her apartment, from what I understand. And it has some sort of like magic on it where it constantly slips 7 years in the past. And while she's, I don't know, slipping through time, this man and her meet and kind of like develop this relationship, but he's 7 years in the past, from what I understand. But so many people have raved about this book and said that it is really good. So to me, there's gotta be more to it than just kind of the plot. The plot sounds interesting. I definitely wanna read it just based off that, but I'm sure there's even more to it because so many people have been talking about it. Love the colors on the cover too. Next up, I have a book by Emily Henry. This is Happy Place. Now, I have, as far as I know, unless I'm totally blanking, I have never actually read an Emily Henry book before, and so many people say Emily Henry is like the best contemporary romance author around. And so I was reading all of the backs, like all of the abouts of her books, and this one, which is a more recent one that came out last year or the year before, so many people love this one, and I finally picked it up on Prime Day. It was on a great sale. And so this is Happy Place, which from what I understand, reading the back, is about a couple and their friends. They all go on like this summer vacation together every year, and they have actually broken up. And of course, they have not told their friends. So they basically go into the vacation just like, okay, we're gonna go into this pretending we're still together just so that we don't ruin the vacation for everybody. And then over the course of the vacation, obviously stuff happens because they are pretending to be together when they're not, actually. So I have no idea much more than that because I don't want to read too much into it, but that's Happy Place by Emily Henry. Again, I'm really excited to read this one. Okay, next up, I'm really proud of myself for not just jumping in and buying the whole series. I bought Flock by Kate Stewart, and this is the Ravenhood series. I think it's a trilogy, the first book. So pretty. I know it was just recently reprinted by Kensington is the one that took this, so it's got some really pretty foiling on it, or like shimmer to the text. This book series, I'm not gonna lie, I've heard so many people talk about it, but I've gone out of my way every time to not read too much about what this book is about. I really want to go in fairly blind. I know that this is an emotional series. I know a lot of people say it absolutely wrecks them in book 2 and 3. I just kind of want to go in blind and see how it goes. I love emotional books. I love sad books. I've heard this is both. And so I kind of just want to go in blind knowing that I'm most likely gonna like it. That's good enough for me. So if you've read it and you liked it, let me know down below, but try not to leave too many spoilers, or any spoilers if you can, just because I really want to go in blind and see how I like this. All right, and then, okay. I might just talk about all of these at the same time because the rest of the series is staring at me on the table, so we might just do it. This box is done. I have been slowly purchasing over the last few months the entire Plated Prisoner series as they are released in the gold and white hardcovers. Now, you're probably wondering, have I read the Plated Prisoner series? No, I have not. And is it a little silly to buy a whole series when you haven't read it, when you don't know if you like it? Yes, it is. But they are so pretty, so pretty. One of my favorite things, and I'm actually just gonna grab the rest real quick because they're just sitting right here. Hold on, I'll kind of talk as I grab them. But one thing I love about this series is how beautiful this print set is with all the gold and white. It's gorgeous. I want to get it in the right order so that way you can also see what it looks like when they're all together, so maybe I can sell my point a little better. But so far, do you guys even see what I'm looking at right now? They're gorgeous. And this is not all of them, right? This is the first 4. I think there's 6 altogether. So there's Gild, Glint, Gleam, Glow. I think Gold is the 5th one, something like that. And then Goldfinch is the last one. And it makes this beautiful spine lay all together. It's so pretty. And then of course the pages are all gold. And yeah, I've heard great things about this series. A lot of my favorite book accounts say it is great. So of course, I want to believe them. Also, if you can find them at Barnes & Noble, Amazon has them on the special edition one with the gold and everything. Amazon usually has them for $5 or $6 off when the new one gets printed until they get rid of the gold edges. And Barnes & Noble also has them for $5 off a lot of the time when they get put out. So again, keep an eye out. If you can find stuff cheaper, that's another reason I was like, you know what? The gold is only going to be for the first run. And then on top of that, I keep finding them for discounted prices. So that makes more sense to me. They're also just so pretty that to me, even if I never read them and they sat on my bookshelf like that, they're gorgeous and so worth it. I love, though, there's a quote on the back of each of them. So like, I'm the gold-plated prisoner, but what a pretty prison it is. It just like, they're so cute. And like the inside, the end pages, gorgeous. And then, you thought I was done, I am not. Look at the naked covers. Like they're so pretty, right? Like just, I don't even know. They're really pretty. And there's artwork. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and it makes me want to have this just to collect. And like I said at the beginning of the video, some people buy books just to collect books and they may never read them. They just want to have them. And part of me has that to an extent, and then the other part of me wants to make sure I read the books that I buy. So let me just see if these are any different. They're all kind of similar on the inside. I've never actually looked at all of them, but like here's one, kind of has the same basic idea on the inside once you get into them. But again, all of the covers just go together. They paint such a pretty picture. And then all of the insides are gorgeous, even if they're similar, and the quotes on the back are different. So like they want to make me a villain, so I'll be one. Like, doesn't that make you want to read that? Makes me want to read that. So that is that. I bought the first 4, and then of course the rest are coming out. So just as they come out, I will be purchasing them until I have them. I have the last 2 to get, so not a whole ton left anyway. So that was kind of its own little detour. Let's do the last 2 packages. I have 2 right here that I bought from other things. This is, you can probably guess by looking at the package, a Rena Kent book. I picked up God of War when she released the last book. I bought it, I don't want this to be too loud. I bought it, and this edition comes signed with a bookmark that has the book cover if you buy the other one. So you can see there's the person book cover and there's the pretty book cover. I mean, they're both pretty, but the like aesthetically pleasing one. I married the man I hate and I recall nothing about it. So I picked it up from her website. I love the pink. I'm a pink girl. I like pink. I also like blues and greens and all that, but girly colors, if I had to pick like pink or purple, I'm gonna pick the pink every time. So God of War is especially pretty to me. But yeah, so as I said, getting the whole set of those. So that's just another one. And then this one, I actually got off Poshmark. And this is a book that I kind of did a panic purchase, if you will. Basically, this book got taken out of print and I kind of panicked because I wanted to read it. Like, I'd kind of always heard about it, and it is a very kind of taboo book. And so I'd always been like, maybe someday, and then it got pulled from print. And this book got pulled, and if you did not already know, the Mindfuck series also got pulled from print. So you got to go get them on Kindle now, I think, or something like that. I don't really know the whole details with that one, but this one got pulled from print permanently as far as I know. And you cannot even get like the ebook on Kindle. Like, you just, if you want to read it, you got to go find a copy somewhere. And so I looked for probably like a month online to try to find the cheapest, best deal. And I had some money on Poshmark. And if you didn't know, you can buy used books on Poshmark or Mercari, things like that. So I had money on my account already. And so I was able to use some of that to buy this copy. But if you want to go buy it, they are getting pretty spendy. So maybe see if you can borrow it from somebody. This is Sick Bucks by Tilly Cole. And I'm sure if you've heard of this book, you might be judging a little, but I'm just so curious. To me, especially since it got pulled from print, it just is one of those books where I picture it kind of as a book like all throughout history, right? Books get pulled, put into print, various reasons. And to me, this book, like, there are so many books that fall under like a very hardcore set of genres, like the splatterpunk genre or extreme horror, things like that. So I know there are crazy, crazy, crazy books out there that probably are much crazier than this, but I've heard so many interesting things about it. I think one thing that I really find interesting is the idea that this has like a Wuthering Heights undertone to it, as well as Alice in Wonderland, which just sounds weird, right? Like if you know Wuthering Heights and you know Alice in Wonderland, like how do you put those together? What makes you think that? I don't know, but this author did. And I know she's going down kind of a YA path now, and maybe that's why this got pulled, is it just doesn't meet her image that she has now. I'm not sure, but I purchased it just because, again, I want to read it just to be able to say I've read it, and I'm very curious just to see. You know, you ever hear about a book that has such polarizing reviews, and you're just like, I kind of want to know. I kind of want to have an opinion myself. Right now, I can't really have an opinion because I haven't read it. It's kind of where I'm at. So when I read this, I'm sure you'll hear about it on my channel. All right, and then we have one last box, and this is the Big Mama box. So let me grab it, and then we'll look into it, and then we'll deal with the rest of this. Okay, it's in my lap. We're gonna just pull them out. Here we go, quick fire. No. This is The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. I'm very excited to read this book. I've heard such good things, and I want to read, there's this series, and then there's the one that came before, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but I've heard really good things about Holly Renee's writing. She writes fairly short romantasy series, and I've always heard that they are very enjoyable, on the quick side, and just people really seem to like them. So I've wanted to read some of her books for a while now, and this is the one that I picked up to start with, which is her newest series. And I'll probably go back and read her older series at some point, but for now, I want to start with this one just because it's new, exciting, hair in my mouth, and I've just heard so many good things about it. So yeah, The Veiled Kingdom, really excited about it. It's just a romantasy. It says, scorching new fantasy romance that ignites the pages with relentless danger, forbidden passion, and the intoxicating allure of enemies to lovers. I'm pretty sure she gets kidnapped in this one, I want to say. Again, I'm going in a little blind by choice, so I'm not going to read too much into it, but yeah, love it. Then we've got, book 3 in the Bonds That Tie series, which again, I started this one. I have read book 1, and it's literally right on top here, so I'll pull it in. Book 2, I had also purchased. I got book 1 a long time ago. Actually, my husband had bought it for me at Barnes & Noble. I read it last month in June, and I immediately read book 2 because I had to, which is Savage Bonds, and then third book is Blood Bonds. So I just picked that one up off Amazon. Blood Bonds is the third book, and this is a really interesting series to me. It gives like an adult version of Shatter Me mixed with something else. Like, I don't know, but it gives me Shatter Me vibes at times, just with the setup, right? Like, it's kind of this dystopian, it's not really dystopian. It's more of just like a contemporary fantasy. People have powers, and the girl is kind of like targeted by people and connected to people who are anti what the more elites have, and then there's like the guys that are with her. So anyways, really enjoying this series so far without giving too much away. Really like it. It is a good one. Then we have, I'm really excited to jump into this. This is Caraval by Stephanie Garber, which is the part of Caraval leads into Once Upon a Broken Heart series, so they are connected, and I've heard that you should read Caraval first. I have heard you don't have to read it first, but I do think it would be kind of nice to, just because I've heard that there is that overlap and you do get more from the story if you read the first series and then the second series. So that is what I plan on doing. I do want to read this first just to get the most out of it. If I start reading this one and decide that I want to skip it, I will, but I think there's 3 books in this series, 3 or 4, and so it's not incredibly long, but it's a YA romantasy that just looks very fun. I like the premise of it, like that carnival vibe. There's not a lot of books that have that that I've read, so I'm really interested, and yeah, see how it goes. Then I intentionally moved one to the side to save, God of Fury, which is book 5 in the Legacy of God series. So here she is, looking all cute. I guess I know what this book is about, so I guess I should say Here He Is, God of Fury by Rena Kent. So this is book 5. Again, you'll see the rest at some point here. I'm just stacking things, so. And then a book that I'm really excited about, you guys. I'm really excited about. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I have heard such good things about this. I've watched probably 3 or 4 different reading vlogs by different creators recently, where either on TikTok or YouTube, where people have been talking about this, and every person says this is a good book. People who are fantasy people who are not fantasy people who I trust their book opinions severely. Everyone says this is a good book. And so I figured, why not? Also, this cover. She's cute, you guys. It's thick though. I didn't realize how thick this book was, but it looks so good. I might be one of the only people who feels this way, but do you guys ever, oh my goodness. There's things. That's pretty. I mean, it's the same thing. She's cute though. She, I mean he. Does anyone else just always refer to things as a girl? I do. Very nice map. Love the map. And then what else did I just see? For those who live their nightmares so that others may have their dreams. Never forget, monsters thrive best in the dark. Commit all you read here to memory and prepare for war. Pronunciation guide. This just looks like such a fun book. What I was gonna say is, does anyone else kind of like the really white pages? I feel like a lot of pages are cream, right? Like you can see the difference. It's kind of interesting. I'm like looking at all these books, which of course I'm staring at a ton of books right now. The white is not typical. Kind of interesting. I'm really excited to read that one though. All right, that was a lot of books. That was all of the boxes and packages. Now we're gonna dive into things that I've picked up at Barnes & Noble or other bookstores, and then we'll get into used books last, just because I know not everyone's probably gonna wanna see the used ones. So let's do bookstores and then let's do used. Hopefully that works for you, because it works for me and I'm the one filming this, so that's what we're doing. All right, we are back. It's a little bit later in the day. I actually had to take a break and go to a family get together. We did like a big birthday celebration. So I'm back, but the lighting may have changed up just a little bit. I'm gonna try and get it all back to good, but this is what we're working with. So let's keep going. The next set of books I'm going to do are all books that I've purchased from bookstores or just got individually, and they're all new. The last set of books I will do are used books that I have picked up at either a used bookstore or garage sailing. So that's where we're moving. First things first, let's go through the new. So I picked up It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And this is a book that I thought was really kind of cool. It takes place in Washington, which I live in the Pacific Northwest. So this takes place in Westport. I don't live in Westport, but I have been there before. And so it's always kind of cool when you're able to read a book about a place that you're familiar with or that you have some connection to. So I was excited about this one. It's like a kind of rich, wealthy girl who ends up going to Westport, and she meets this fisherman. I think he actually runs a crab boat, and they kind of hit it off. So that is this book. It just seemed like a super quick, easy summer read. Not very long, not a lot of pages, and just a cute contemporary romance. So that's that. Next up, we have a book I'm very kind of excited, a little scared, but also excited for. Actually, let me do this one first. Let me do this one first. I got Powerful, which you can probably guess the next book, but I got Powerful, which this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition because my copy of Powerless that I have is also a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. And so I wanted to obviously keep that the same. And so this is Powerful, which is the novella that comes after Powerless. And this is about a sub character, like a a minor character in the story. It's like her little spin-off book. So I've heard really good things. What's very interesting is this book is so small. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a mini book. And so it's kind of cute, but that is this one. I think it is about, yeah, so this is about Adina, which is basically Peyton's, they're almost like sisters, but they're best friends, and they are connected in the first book. If you haven't read Powerful or Powerless, then you should definitely read that before this one, because they are connected. And then I also picked up the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Reckless, and I absolutely am so excited to read this. I read Powerless in June? No, I read it this month. I read it in July, the very beginning of the month. And so I was really excited and I wanted to read Reckless. So I picked this up actually before I read Powerless, but I wanted to make sure I had this first because it was released this month in July. So I went ahead and got it, and I love the teal. The teal is so, so pretty to me. I love it. I love it. I love the Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. Powerless is in pink, and then you have red for Powerful and teal for Reckless. If you got the standard copies, it goes purple and white, and then Reckless is red. And I much prefer these colors, so I'm glad I got these ones. And then I got a series, which I've already read these. I bought them in June for my June TBR. And so they are tabbed already because I did read them, but I got the Deception trilogy by Rena Kent. I'll just kind of show you all three. There is Vow of Deception, which is book 1. These all have such pretty covers in my opinion, and I highly recommend this trilogy. I have already read it, so Tempted by Deception. This is a mafia romance, a mafia dark romance with a lot of interesting aspects to it. It is not your typical just mafia book. Consumed by Deception is the third one, and honestly, just the prettiest covers. I was really excited to read this one. It was probably my most anticipated series in the Rena Kent universe, so I'm really glad that I loved it. But yeah, highly recommend to read, and also they are just so, so pretty. So really glad I picked those up off Amazon. The next one is in my new pile, but I actually got it given to me by my mom. She read this, and then as soon as she was done, she was like, you should read it. It's super short. This is a thriller, I believe, and the title is Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica? Something like that. And it is basically, it says, Jake Hayes is missing. This much is certain. At first, his wife, Nina, thinks he's blowing off steam at a friend's house after their heated fight the night before. But then a day goes by, 2 days, 5, and Jake is still nowhere to be found. Lily Scott, Nina's friend and coworker, thinks she may have been the last to see Jake before he went missing. After Lily confesses everything to her husband, Christian, the two decide that nobody can find out what happened leading up to Jake's disappearance, especially not Nina. But Nina is out there looking for her husband, and she won't stop until the truth is discovered. So this is definitely like a husband gone missing case, and it just sounds really interesting. My mom, again, really enjoyed it, so she gave me her copy to read. Then we have books, let's see, book 2 and book 4 in the Legacy of God series, God of Pain, God of Ruin. I'm really excited for these. One thing I think is really interesting, I think it's God of Ruin that I always hear people just kind of are underwhelmed by. And I read a book, because isn't he a sculptor in this one? Or an artist? There's one, and I read a book by L.J. Shen called Angry God, which is, it's funny because this is God of Ruin, and then that one was Angry God, but it's basically a book where he's a sculptor, and she, in that book, is also into like art and sculpting and stuff. But for some reason, like that kind of tortured artist vibe really spoke to me. So I'm actually really intrigued for this one. I find it funny though, because a lot of people, it's not their favorite. I've heard it's just not like a wow book, but I'm really excited. And then God of Pain, I also hear is kind of a more meh of the series. So I'm really excited. I'm going in blind to a lot of these with just like an inkling of detail. And I'm curious how I rate these once I'm done, because I just always see other people rate the series, and it's just interesting to compare what people like and don't like. Next book I got at Walmart when it came out, and again, I bought this purely based off looks at first, but this is another thriller. It's called Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This was the Walmart exclusive, and it is so pretty. So it is a thriller basically where this group of kids, their parents die, or they're gone. Yeah, their parents die, and they're going through their house, going through all their old stuff, trying to get rid of things, and basically they stumble upon all of these VHS tapes that were their parents that they don't know about, and they think it's like old videos or something, so they go to play it, and they find out their parents are actually somehow connected to a murder, and or something like that, and I don't know if it's one murder or multiple, but they have to like watch all these tapes to figure it out. So this is like a giant VHS tape, and it's all bloody. There's the handprint that's like glossed on there, and then the pages are red, and this is again the Walmart exclusive cover. So there's the TV, and it says summer of 1999 in the VHS tape going in. So this is the hardcover. It's just a very pretty edition. The actual book on the inside is just kind of like your standard, but it's just so pretty and cool. And I just thought for a thriller type book, I don't see a ton of special editions for thrillers like this, and I just thought it was really pretty. And the Walmart edition, does it have the price? It was a really decent price. Was it a really decent price? Maybe it wasn't. I don't want to say I paid the regular price. Maybe I did. $27.99? I don't know why I had in my head that I thought that was a really good deal. Maybe it was on sale when I got it or something like that. But either way, it's very, very pretty. I really thought it was just a fun one to add to the collection. Plus, the premise sounds really interesting. I don't know. And last new book I got is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is book 2 in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This wraps up the story with Oriah and Rain. And so I read the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, which is Serpent in the Wings of Night, and I loved it. So this is book 2. I did just read this one as well in July, so I was really excited to read it and to finish this up, and then now we're moving on to another character's story. So very exciting, very pretty. Got the hardcover. These were just re-released and printed. They're by Bramble Publishing or whatever. Now they have the paperbacks, but I got the hardcover because the first book I got in hardcover, so obviously I want them to match. So that is this one, and it is by Carissa Broadbent, a really good series. So that is all the new books. Now, if you want to dip out there, totally understandable, but I am going to share real quick all the books that I got a little faster because a lot of them I don't have a lot of context to, but these are the books that I have got used recently, mainly from Powell's bookstore in Oregon. Had this big sale, and there were so many people had to wait in line for so many hours to get in, but they had books for $1 or $2. And so I was able to go with my mom. She was willing to take a trip with me to go to Portland to do it. And so we got a few books and I wanted to share. And then I have 2 other books that I picked up used. One of them was The Night Circus, which I've heard really good things about. I, of course, as you saw, got Caraval, so I'm kind of in that circus mood, I guess. I don't know. I've just heard so many people talk about it. I think it's a YA, isn't it? I might be wrong on that, but it's, again, like a fantasy romance, and it just, I don't know. I saw it for like 25 cents or whatever at a garage sale, and it's in great condition. I don't even know that they read it. The spine's not worn or anything, so it was definitely worth picking up because it does, of course, retail for 17. So 25 cents, you can't beat it. And then the other book I got from the same garage sale was this book, which is Stephen King's Full Dark, No Stars. And one second. Okay, so this is a collection of 4 shorter stories, and they are all not, from what I understand reading the synopsis, they're not really connected stories. There's no like overlap of consistency that I find. It's just 4 shorter style Stephen King stories, and I'm really excited to try them out just because I have never really finished, like read a full-length Stephen King novel, and so I figured 4 shorter stories might be the way to kind of get into it, and I figured it would be perfect for fall. Not really a summer read to me, but definitely something that would be fun to try out in like maybe October or something like that. So those are my 2 garage sale books. Now let's dive into the Powell's books. So this first book is called Checkpoint by Jean-Christophe Ruffin, and it is a story that's a suspense, and it basically is, I want to try and figure out, so 4 men who accompany Maud into an aid convoy couldn't be further from the cliche. So it's like a humanitarian book, but yeah, it's a psychological literary thriller. And so it's like these people doing some sort of humanitarian work, and basically like this girl goes in with this group of guys and they find out about each other's kind of backstories. I don't fully totally grasp the concept from reading this, but it's like a thriller, action, I don't even know. It really sounds to me like a movie plot that would be really interesting. But I'm gonna read it. It's, again, not super long. I don't really know that it screams summer read either, but it was intriguing enough that I was like, why not? So that's that. The next book, this is kind of an interesting one, but for a little backstory, I went and studied abroad in Uruguay in college. And so I found this one, which is by Jose Basilio de Gama, which is a historical romance of South America called The Uruguay. And I just thought it was really interesting because it just jumped out at me, because I'm going through all these books and then you just see this random book about Uruguay, and I don't know, it's told in poetry. So it just is a really interesting, I don't know, a really interesting style of writing. I thought it'd be just very interesting to look at. It really just caught me because of the country that it is about, and I don't have a lot of context to it. I just thought it was interesting, and I love poetry. That is something you might not know because I never talk about it on this channel, but I love poetry and I would love to get more into poetry. So that one just really spoke to me. And then here's another one that I think is kind of wild. So while we were waiting in line, it took hours to get inside Powell's. And while we were sitting there waiting, it was so funny because this car drove by and I saw this bumper sticker on the back of the car that had this picture. And I was like, I showed my mom and I'm like, I wonder what that's for. Because like there's a dance studio in the Pacific Northwest that has a thing like this, but it's a dancer and it's very obviously not like a boy. This is obviously a boy like jumping. And I was like, weird. Wonder what that's for. I just didn't recognize it. Well, then we get into Powell's. And again, this is one where it's like, I had no context, but I just saw this. And I was like, okay, what is this? It's Kicking the Sky by Anthony de Sa. And it's basically about in 1977 when a shoeshine boy, Emmanuel Jacques, was brutally murdered in Toronto. And the aftermath of the crime, 12-year-old Antonio Rebello explores his neighborhood's dark garages and labyrinth back alleys along with his rapscallion friends. As the media unravels the truth of the shoeshine boy murder, Antonio sees his immigrant family in Portuguese neighborhood with new eyes, becoming aware of the frightening reality that no one is really taking care of him. So just a really interesting story. Literally the only reason I even gave it the time of day, I mean, it sounds very interesting, was this though. And to me, it was just, I don't know. It was just a weird coincidence. I feel obligated to read it. And it does sound really interesting. I don't know if it's based off a true story or not. It really doesn't say true story anywhere, and you'd figure it would, right? I don't know. I would figure it would, but maybe something inspired it. I would have to look it up in Google, but kind of cool. Next up, I have The Skull and the Nightingale. I know nothing about this book. This is by Michael Irwin, and it basically says, a man eager to make his fortune, a godfather who initiates a dangerous psychological game, an extraordinary proposition, one of discovery, pleasure, and pain. So this takes place in Europe in 1761. Richard Fenwick, a young man without a family or means, returns to London. His godfather, James Gilbert, has an unexpected proposition. I guess Gilbert has led a sedate life in the country, but now in his advancing years, he feels the urge to experience, if vicariously, the extremes of human feeling, along with something more sinister. He asks him to serve as his proxy to write to him of his city adventures, and his ward believes he has no option but to accept. So it just like such an interesting premise where like, basically, his godfather is like, hey, I'm too old to go live this exciting life. I want you to go live it for me and do all these things for me and tell me how it goes. Like, okay. So there's that. Then there is Katrina's Ring by Lisa McGinnis. And this one says, a determined and strong Katerina Pinsebene becomes a mail-order bride and leaves Italy in 1916 in order to escape an untenable situation. Witty and self-deprecating, her granddaughter, Juliet Bryce, lives in California in the present day and is struggling to fulfill her dream of opening her own cafe. Juliet experiences an unfortunate tragedy that serves as the impetus to shake up her life and escape to her grandmother's homeland, where she enrolls in a 6-month cooking class in Lucca. While abroad, she has all these little experiences, yada, yada, yada. That's basically the premise. So definitely kind of interesting. It gives me, and I know it's Italy, but it reminds me of, if you ever read or watched the movie The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, when Lena went to Greece and just kind of connected with her roots. That's kind of the vibe that I get from this, but like an Italy version. I don't know. Sounded interesting. Then we have Lady of the Butterflies. And this says, it's an unforgettable story of Eleanor Glanville, the beautiful daughter of a 17th century Puritan nobleman whose unconventional passions scandalized society. Still known as one of the great natural scientists of her age, Eleanor was a woman ahead of her time, but her life was marked by 2 reckless preoccupations: a fascination with science, especially the study of butterflies, and a tempestuous love affair with the dashing soldier Richard Glanville that nearly cost her everything she held dear. So, kind of interesting. Again, I don't really have any prior knowledge of this book, but it sounded interesting. A woman like this kind of main character, I just always find them really interesting. When it's a woman who kind of goes maybe against societal norms in some way, and just hearing a story like that is always interesting to me. Now, these next few books that I'm going to go through are all basically just silly little romance novels that look kind of cute. So I'm not going to go into too much with them. You can probably just tell they're silly little romance novels. And I figured those are the best books for like a palate cleanser, basically is why I got them. Like if you need something, no brain power, we're just reading for the fun of it. Some of them, I don't know when I'll ever get to them. But again, they were so cheap. It was like, why not? They sound interesting. So this is Nearest Thing to Heaven by Lynette Austin, and this is a part of a series called the Maverick Junction series, and it's basically just like a small town romance, very much so a very just little easy book. The next one is Retrieval by Jeannie London. And this is a romantic supernatural thriller. I have never read a supernatural thriller with a subplot of romance in my life, but it sounded really interesting to combine all that together. So I picked it up. Again, extremely small, little cutesy book. So why not? You know, what's the worst that could happen? Then we have A Warrior's Taking by Margot McGuire. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the cover that it has a lot of blue. I thought Earthly Ice Planet Barbarians. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. It's like an island romance. Like a castaway romance? I don't know. But it's there. Then we have Fight to the Savage Empire. Now this one I thought was really interesting. It was giving like very Sword of Throne of Glass vibes. It's basically like the shortest little tiny book ever, but it's a fantasy novel, and it's basically where these two characters are working together. So I think the romance is more of a subplot in this. It definitely gives fantasy. The girl is a warrior trying to like help her kingdom. Yeah, so interesting. This one, I'm gonna just show you it. Like if I never read this book, it could sit on my shelf for forever. It could be the worst book ever, but it's gorgeous. So that's the main reason I picked it up. This is Last Chance by Jo Marie Landis. No context here. Other than I think, yeah, this is like set in 1894, and I think it is just like a time period romance from the sound of it. But again, I mainly got it because it's like one of the prettiest books I've ever seen in my life. Then we have Bloody Good by Georgia Evans. It's just a little vampire supernatural romance, I believe, is what it looks like. Yeah, paranormal romance is what Powell's tagged it as. So, I don't know, seemed kind of cute for like October maybe. Also, if you can hear my books, if you can hear my books, if you can hear my dogs, they're in the other room. The Destined Queen by Deborah Hale. This is interesting. It's basically, can a queen who has once done the impossible ever be free? I don't really know a whole lot about it. It's just basically like a fantasy, very cutesy, and again, just a really pretty cover. So there's that. This one sounded interesting. My mom was like, if you don't get it, I'm gonna get it. It's called The Sea Queen, and it's large. I mean, we went from these little buddies to this, but it's called The Sea Queen, and it basically says, Ragnvald's sister, Svanhild, has found the freedom and adventure she craves at the side of the rebel explorer Solvi Hunthjofsson. Though not without a cost, she longs for a home where her quiet son can grow strong, a place where she can put down roots, even as Solvi's ambition draws him back to Norway's battles again and keeps her divided from her brother. As a growing rebellion ignites King Harald's enemies, Ragnvald suspects that some of the Norse nobles are not loyal to Harald's dream of unified Norway. He sets a plan in motion to defeat all his enemies and bring his sister back to his side, while Svanhild finds herself with no easy decisions and no choices that will leave her truly free. Their actions will hold irrevocable repercussions for the fates of those they love and for Norway itself. That is that. So, it just sounds really interesting, so I picked it up. I read a Viking, what's the one that was big this year? A Fate Eked in Blood. I enjoyed it, and it was like a Viking type of Norse vibe, so I liked it. This one is The Vampire Voss, and it is a book of the Regency Dracula. So this is just a vampire Regency paranormal romance. Sounded interesting, and again, we're heading into fall, so I figured it'd be kind of fun. And then this last one is Shakespeare's World. I've been wanting to read some of Shakespeare's works, and what I thought was interesting is this book actually just goes into like the history and life of Shakespeare. Talks about like all of his inspiration, the different sonnets, things that he did. So it's kind of more like a little, like a study partner almost to Shakespeare's works. And this is by D.L. Johanyak. And so I just thought this would be interesting to have while reading Shakespeare's works. So without further ado, I think that's everything. We finally reached the end of the journey. If you stayed till the end, first of all, shout out to you, you're amazing. But also, if you have read any of these books, let me know. If you have an opinion of what book I should start with out of all of these, let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below so you can see more of my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Probably not a book haul for a while, but I will definitely see you in the next video. Have an awesome day. I appreciate you guys so much.